And I come into my junior year, and I'm about to get exactly what I wanted. About to get this thing called NFL. You know what it really stands for? Not for long, right? That's what it really stands for, right? And I'm 10 games away from this dream. Working for my whole life. My whole life is dedicated to this one game. I'm up Saturday mornings, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, 2 miles to a fire station, 2 miles back home. I'm in the park, 9:30, 10 at night, doing everything in my life surrounded the game of football. I'm sitting at home at night. I'm throwing balls up to the ceiling, and I'm catching them different type of ways, trying to see if a receiver was to check me, if I wanted to catch an interception. Like, everything revolved around this game, and I finally get in a position in my life to where now I'm 10 games away from it. I got the paperwork that states I'm about to be an NFL draft pick. NFL on top of the paper. Inky Johnson projected top 30, automatic multi-millionaire. Now all you have to do, the hard part's over. Just play the next 10 football games, Ink. You made it. And I go out in a silly game against Air Force, 2 minutes left, and I go to make a tackle that I can make with my eyes closed. And I hit this guy, and as soon as I hit him, I knew it was a problem, but I didn't think it would be this type of problem. Like, you know how when things happen, you're like, I didn't expect that, but I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy. And when I hit him, every breath in my body left. My body goes completely limp. I fall to the ground. I blacked out. My eyes open. I'm still not, too concerned because it's football. I told Pastor, I never thought about a career-ending injury. You have injuries within the game. When my eyes open, guys run over, Ink, let's rock, man. Let's go. Let's finish him off. And I'm like, I can't. Like, what do you mean you can't? You're our starting corner. Get up. You can nurse your injury after the game, man. I'm like, no, I can't. They said, what do you mean you can't? I said, I can't move. It's a shock, neck to my toes. I can't feel anything. Shock leaves. It stays in my right arm and hand. I'm like, maybe I got a bad stinger. They put me on the spine board, wheeling me off the field. Doctor says to me as he's walking beside me, I don't know how you're still alive, son. You don't have any pulse. Maneuver. We get to the ambulance. My father's standing there. I'm like, Pops, I laid it on him, right? I put it on him, right? My dad's like, yeah, but I think you got the worst part of this one, E. Doctor said, we're going to take you over, run a couple tests, bring you back into the room. Everything will be cool. They run the test. They bring me back into the room. Mom comes in, kisses, prays. Son, you'll be fine. She's going to walk out. Doctors rush in. Head boy says, hey, man, got to rush him back to surgery. He's about to die. And I look at him and I want to ask him, like, man, you can't use another word? Like, use a synonym, brother. How y'all say die? Like, you sure died, man? And he could tell from how I'm looking at him that I'm questioning. And he says to me, you ruptured a subclavian artery in your chest. You're bleeding internally. If we don't perform this surgery tonight, I guarantee you, you won't be here in the morning. From 7 years old to 20 years old, boiled down to one moment. The sacrifice, the dedication, the commitment came down to one moment. And the next morning I woke up from that surgery. The NFL on my scale of life was that big. SEC championship, that big. Cornerback, that big. I was embarrassed. I'm sitting there and people coming into my room like, Inky, man, we're sorry about what happened to you. And I'm saying to myself, man, Inky, you really messed it up this time. Like, man, that's really the only thing you wanted, huh? Like, you just thought because you grew up in this so-called hood, 2-bedroom home, 14 people. If I did things right, but I never did the right thing. And now the thing I placed my identity in, now it's gone. That's why I laugh at people when they say, man, if I could just get this, I'll be. Man, if I could just get this position, I'll be. Woo! Man, if I could just get this amount of money, I'll be. I'm like, woo. But what happens even if you get it or you don't get it? What happens when God says yes and no? Like, do you have the ability to accept what you don't understand? Can you still see God's plan when it didn't go the way that you thought it would go? Can you handle when things get off course? I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, man, I'm 8 games away, and God is redirecting me, and I'm like, God, just let me get to the NFL then redirect me. Like, let me get the contract, then redirect me so I can help my family. And God's like, no, son, I need you to really go that way. And I'm like, you sure? Like, man, I need to go this way. He's like, no, I need you to go this way. I got something greater for you. Now, it might take a little longer to manifest, but I got something even sweeter. Like, I got something more fulfilling. I got something more rewarding. I got something, son, that's going to carry you for the rest of your life. Like, it's an amazing thing. I knew this was what I was supposed to be doing when one day I'm backstage and I got the same feeling that I got when I used to be in the tunnel before I was running out of Neyland Stadium. I said, thank you, God. Same feeling. And I met a gentleman one day in West Town Mall in Knoxville, and he came up to me and he was crying. It was me and Eric Berry. And when he was crying, I'll never forget, he said, I saw a little clip on the news, and I saw you laughing about what you went through. He said, I was going through something, and that really helped me. And he left, and when he said it, I walked off, and I said, God, if people view me in this way, I have to take myself a little more serious. Like, God, if this is what I represent to people, I got to take myself a little bit more serious. Like, God, if I'm going to be dealing with you and I'm going to be connected to you and this is what I got to take myself a little more serious, right? And a guy told me, Inky, if you're going to make plans with God, be sure to make them big. I said, I got you. And I thought it was over after football got redirected. My life got redirected 2-3 more times before I even fell into my purpose and my mission and what I was supposed to be doing. It got redirected 2-3 more times. I'm thinking I'm going to be a coach. Just like every guy when he finishes the game. And I'll just coach. God's like, no, you ain't. I'm talking about people trying to give me positions. People telling me, hey, man, here, name your position, name it, write your job description, put your price on it. Like, people are trying to give it to me, and I'm praying, and the Lord will not give me peace. I'm like, Lord, this is easy. Nope, no peace. I'm like, well, maybe I'm supposed to go back to Atlanta and work in my neighborhood at the rec center. I'm calling the guy answered the phone. He like, Inky, you should have left yesterday. I got you the job. I get to Atlanta. I call the guy. He don't answer the phone. I email him. He don't reply. Now I'm in Atlanta with my daughter, my wife, and we're living with my wife's grandmother in a small little one-bedroom home, and my daughter is sleeping in a wagon that somebody bought her for her birthday because me and my wife couldn't afford a bed, and my wife is pregnant with our son. And I don't have a job. And I always tell a story about when my faith was fortified and my life went to another level was the only thing I had at that moment was a prayer and a book. And the prayer that I prayed was, Lord, I don't know what you want me to do. Exact prayer, I don't know what you want me to do. But people keep coming to me telling me, speak. Inky, you need to speak. And I'm like, I'm not speaking. Like, I don't want to do that. People coming, Inky, you need to speak. I'm like, no, man. I want to just work up here, create a couple of curriculums, leadership stuff for kids. I'll do that. Somebody come, Inky, you need to speak. Oh, man. And God brought me to the point where I had nothing, and I was on my knees, and I said, Lord, listen, I don't know if this is what you want me to do, but I submit, and let's rock. And the next morning I woke up, I had my book I had written, and me and my boy Jeff, and I wrote it, and I got up, and I looked at my wife. I said, I'm going to take this book to Oprah. My wife looks at me and said, oh, cool. Do you know Oprah? I'm like, nope. Hey, you know anybody that work with Oprah? Like, nope. You know anybody at Harpo Studio? I'm like, nope. She said, you sure? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, go for it. I took off to go to Chicago in my truck, same truck I drive now. I got my little 2X suit on. You can see I'm nowhere near the 2X, right? I'm driving. I got about $200 to my name. I'm praying, like, Lord, don't let me get a flat. Don't let nothing happen because I'm done. And so I get up Chattanooga. I call my buddy Jeff. Jeff is in Knox. He's an attorney. Jeff picks up. I said, Jeff, you ain't going to believe it. I'm going to Chicago to meet Oprah. Jeff said, oh, Inky, you know Oprah? I'm like, nope. Jeff immediately says, Inky, I know you're a highly ambitious person. I need you to hang up, think this through, and call me when you get to Knoxville because the chances of that happening are a long shot. Now I don't want you to be disappointed. I get to Knoxville. I call Jeff. Jeff picks up. He said, you still going? I said, yep. He said, stop by and pick me up, man. I just don't want you to be too down when it doesn't happen. I pick him up. We get to Chicago that night. Jeff gets to the hotel. Said, Inky, you want me to get you a room? I said, no, I just sleep on a little cot, man. Get up the next morning. Jeff says he's going to work out. I said, I'm going to go to the front desk, get some information, try to get to the studio. I'm looking at Jeff. He's looking at me. I'm getting the information. I go to take off, and Jeff says, Ink, wait. I said, man, let me go change. I'm going to go with you. You know, I just don't want you to be too let down. I said, all right, cool. He said, we'll take a cab. We take a cab over. We get to the block, and it's massive. People everywhere. They're going, coming in and out. So we get out. Jeff says, I'm going to go to this coffee shop. I said, Ink, I'm sure this won't be long, right? And so I got my book. I got my suit. It's hot. Every door that opened, I ran in it. I'm, hey, man, Inky Johnson, drove from Atlanta. They're like, get out of here. I'm like, man, Oprah people are rude, man. I thought you was nice. You give away cars, like you're rude. So after getting kicked out like 4 doors, I go to the back of the building. I sit down, I put my back on the building, look up to the sky, and I'm like, God, man, thought it was you. I'm like, man, my wife gonna chew me out, man. And I get up and I walk around the side of the building. Homeless gentleman sitting there. I sit beside him. He said, how you doing? I said, man, I've seen better days. I said, how are you? He said, I'm great. I get up. I look down the sidewalk, and at this moment, there was nobody but Oprah and a security guard. Talking about nobody else. She's walking toward me. I'm walking toward her. I get a couple of feet away. I stop. She grabbed my suit. She said, hey, that's a nice suit. I said, thank you. I said, I drove from Atlanta. I wanted to get you my book. She said, oh, great. I said, would you mind taking a picture? We take a picture, and I'm going to walk off. She said, I got to get in and do my show. I said, all right, thank you. And I'm going to walk off, and her security says to me, said, hey, young man, come here. I stopped. I went back to him. He said, I just want to tell you something. He said, what just happened never happens. He said, now, I don't know what's going to come out of it. I don't know, book club, show. I don't know about any of that. He said, but I just want to make sure I tell you what just happened never happens. I said, thanks. So I leave. I start to put the picture on social media, send it to my friends, everybody's reaction. You going to be on a book club? You going to be on a show? Is she going to interview you? What's going to happen? I'm like, I don't know. I really don't care. I'm like, what just happened? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I'm like, God, are we moving like that? Like, God, are we really moving to the point where I can get up in Atlanta, Georgia, look at my wife, don't know nobody in Chicago, don't know nobody on Oprah's staff, and look at my wife and say, I'm going to meet Oprah. I got a certain level of faith that I'm going to meet Oprah. And God puts me face to face with Oprah and puts the book in her hand. I said, God, let's go. And so now I live my life a certain type of way according to what God has done. I live my life a certain type of way according to the power that I know the Lord possesses. I live my life a certain type. Like when I go to the Lord in prayer, I go bold. And every time I go bold, I'm so thankful that that's not me and my Lord's first time communicating. And people have the nerve to ask me all the time, Inky, why wouldn't you change what happened to you? You got a paralyzed right arm and hand. I'm like, if you only knew and if you only saw the works that God has done in people's lives around me. What he's done in me, yeah, it's great, it's cool. But what God has done in the people's lives around me, like you can't put a price on that. Like at a certain point, like what is it really about? Like, and I know the initial reaction when we go through things is to say, man, why did this have to happen to me? And it's an honest reaction. Because sometimes good people go through some crazy stuff. And some of the things we go through, I'm gonna just be real, it's not a scripture for it. It's not. You can't go, hey, go to Romans 2:2. They're like, what? It's not. But this is what I've understood. In life, some people don't need you to preach a sermon, they need you to live one. And so when they see you living it, they can connect and identify with that. The only thing I ask of you, as talented, as brilliant, as powerful, as beautiful as you are, never allow life to make you forget why you started in the first place. Meaning that first time you said, man, I'm riding with Christ, let's go. That first feeling you got, like that first interaction, that first connection you got, like when you first got it. It's like when people say at the beginning, everybody is excited, everybody is on fire, but at a certain point, you hit something along the journey, and it's gonna test that level of commitment. At a certain point, you're gonna hit something, it's gonna test that level of faith, and my definition of commitment was always staying true to what I said I would do long after the mood that I've set it in has left. Like, am I going to stay true to my beliefs and my core and my essence of who I am as an individual, even if I get a paralyzed right arm and hand? Am I going to stay true to it? Even if my little career that I thought I was going to have disappears, am I going to stay true to it? Even if one day I'm in a football game, the thing I love to do, the thing I've been practicing my whole life, and then one moment it gets wiped out, am I going to stay true to it? Because depending upon if I'm going to stay true to it, a lot of other people's belief in their Christian journey is predicated upon that and my belief in my Christian journey. In other words, I've seen a lot of other people say, Inky, I want to give my life to Christ, not because of something that happened with me, but because of something I've seen happen to you. And so when ESPN comes to me and say, Ink, you wouldn't be in the NFL right now? I'm like, if you only knew. If you only knew my father got saved because of my injury. If you only knew. My 3 boys that went first round to the NFL, all of them got saved. If you only knew. If you only knew my mother, the level of her faith, like if you only knew. Like I just seen God do some things through the injury, and I'm like, man, every day I wake up, I just try to stay out of his way. I'm like, should I step there, should I not, right? And to my athletes in the room, a specific word. The game of football is a platform. Sports is a platform, man, that God has provided to do something incredible. Like, never think that you're God's gift to the game. God has gifted you to be able to play the game. And with every opportunity we get, we should always give God the glory. I'm going to leave you with this. Because I'm a Baptist, right? So I get going, fire get rolling, right? I'm gonna leave you with this. We already know what to do when God says yes. We already know what to do when we get blessed. We already know what to do when our prayers get answered. But the question that I have for you in this rhetorical, what will you do when God says no?